Thank you, Mr. Austin. Mr. Neguse, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chairman and Ranking Member, for being here. My colleague from Georgia, I will say we were delighted to welcome folks to Colorado, but in any event, I don't want to belabor that point. I do want to just check in with respect to the numbers that you mentioned and make sure I've got this right. My colleague from Georgia, you said in 2016 that Hillary Clinton got 1,877,963,000 votes?
That was my understanding. I just looked it up on the internet.
And Donald Trump got 2,089,104?
I didn't pull all of those numbers, but
okay. So you gave the Hillary Clinton number. I was giving you the Donald Trump number from 2016.
My point was that Democrat numbers went up.
So in 2020, I think you said,
okay,
Joe Biden had 2,473,633 votes. That's the number
right.
Is that right?
That's according to the internet.
Got it.
I think that's the official results.
Exactly. And Donald Trump got 2,461,854,000 votes.
If that's what.
That's what's online. So Donald Trump lost Georgia.
Count. That is the official count.
He lost the election in Georgia in 2020, right?
And the question got back to, and the reason the law was changed.
But is that right or wrong?
Officially, yes.
What do you mean officially?
Did the Democratic Party sue to change the election laws prior to that election?
So wait, are you saying that's not, what do you mean officially?
I'm saying the Democratic Party sued to change the election laws in the state of Georgia so that on the absentee ballots,
so that's why the numbers went up? Because I thought you just made the argument a minute ago that the numbers were going up, notwithstanding the changes that the Georgia legislature had made to the voting laws in Georgia. What are you talking about?
They are going up.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, Mr. Scott, I think you can understand where I'm getting at. I think you were making an argument previously that, myself, Mr. Morelli, others may disagree with. But facts are facts and numbers are numbers. And I would just love to hear somebody say, without the qualifiers, without official language and all of the rest, you cited the numbers to us. You said that Joe Biden got 2,473,633 votes in the state of Georgia during the 2020 presidential election. And we know that Donald Trump got 2,461,854 votes. He lost the Georgia election. If you can say those words, if you can say Donald Trump lost Georgia, I'm happy to engage with you in good faith on the latter question.
Those are the official ballot counts. And as you know, I voted to certify the election.
I appreciate that.
What you're not saying is that Biden got almost 800,000 absentee ballots where there was no signature verification and no ID required.
And my point to you, and I want to say...
And that number has never been that high before or since.
I hear you. I thank the chairman. I think...
And I don't have all of my notes in front of me on all of those things.
I'll go ahead and reclaim it. I think, Mr. Scott...
Fair enough.
And I would just simply say, initially, when you cite... And let me just say that for the record. I appreciate that you certified the electoral results. I remember you doing that because I was there on January 6th with you. So I want to make that very clear. I was just simply saying when you cited the Hillary Clinton number in 2016, and then the Joe Biden number, and then the Kamala Harris number, the general import of the argument, as best as I could understand it, was your case that the Georgia laws that were enacted, notwithstanding the criticisms of those laws by Democratic members, that nonetheless, Democrats continue to compete and to win electorally in Georgia. But in any event, I understand the other alternative argument you're making.
Won this we have 2 Democrat U.S. senators right now.
I hear you. Exactly. So
one of which has been reelected.
I hear you. So I want to ask Chairman Steil, do you agree that Joe Biden won Georgia? Do you agree with your colleague, Mr. Scott?
As reported, the state of Georgia cast its electoral ballots for Joe Biden.
What does that mean?
Well, we, in the House of Representatives, we witnessed the counting of the Electoral College, and the state of Georgia cast their ballots in support of Joe Biden.
Correct, and that is because he won the state of Georgia. And so
it was certified in the state of Georgia. That's an accurate statement. It was certified in the state of Georgia.
And I presume you would say the same about the state of Minnesota in 2024 with respect to Kamala Harris's victory there?
That the Electoral College was counted in favor of
Kamala Harris won the election in the state of Minnesota.
As reported from the state of Minnesota.
What is this? Why can't you just say yes? I don't understand.
I don't understand your confusion as to how the Electoral College is
I'm
counted.
not asking about the Electoral College. I'm asking about the popular vote in these respective states.
That's how we elect the President of the United States.
Madam Chair.
I'm confused about why you keep pursuing this when you're getting an answer from these people telling you.
I am not getting an
that
answer.
the elections were certified.
Madam
That
Chair.
should be adequate.
Number one, Madam Chair, the time belongs to the Speaker,
I understand,
and
but
I'm happy to ask you the question. I'm happy to ask any Republican on this panel. I think the only person on the panel that will answer the question honestly is Mr. Scott from Georgia. If I ask anyone on the panel whether or not a particular candidate won the popular vote in a particular state, I get the same gobbledygook answers of various sequiturs as reported, as the Electoral College certified in the House of Representatives. I'm not asking that. I'm asking who won the state of Wisconsin, who won the state of Minnesota. If I go out and ask a citizen on the street who won Minnesota in 2024, every single one of them will say Kamala Harris won. The only people who equivocate are Republican politicians in this committee. That's a fact. We all know it. But in any event, I will agree with the chairwoman that it's not worth belaboring it, because I don't think I'm going to get a different answer out of Mr. Steil. Now, I go through 50 states, and you'll answer it the same way. Who won the state of Arkansas in 2024, Mr. Morelli?
State of Arkansas
Yes.
in 2024?
Yes.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump won the state of Arkansas. Not as reported and as certified by the Electoral College. He won the state of Arkansas. Mr. Steil, do you disagree? Who won the state of Arkansas in 2024?
I mean, I think we've made it pretty clear that we count. I think there was confusion maybe in your question.
Like
that
20-word
the
answers.
Electoral College
Who won?
determines who's the President of the United States. The Electoral College has been reported in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
I don't think it's terribly confusing.
Okay, Mr. Steil. I mean, again, people can render their own judgments. Wild. Wild. I mean, honestly, like the only, I go out and I ask any citizen in the state of Arkansas. I think if Bruce Westerman were here, I think he'd answered honestly too. He'd say Donald Trump won Arkansas. He wouldn't be worried about how Donald Trump might react to him saying that. I get it. I understand. You're worried President Trump might be watching this. Maybe he hears you and he understands that you are willing to, perhaps concede the truth on it. Very honest question. But in any event, I'll digress. We can talk about the merits of this bill. I want to talk about the section governing registration with respect to mail voter registrations and applications. My understanding of the legislation, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, is that under this legislation, essentially states would not be allowed to accept NVRA mail voter registration applications unless the applicant presents the requisite types of identification in person at the office of an appropriate election official.
To be accurate.
Okay. So let's say that you are a U.S. Marine stationed in a foreign country and you have not registered to vote. You would not be able to register to vote under this legislation, correct?
No, U.S. service members stationed abroad are specifically excluded from the in-person registration requirement.
Mr. Morelli, is that correct? Because as I understand this language, and I'm reading here,
Yeah.
this would have a significant effect on members of the United States Armed Forces who would be unable to register to vote at all while deployed overseas.
It's one of the criticisms we made of the SAVE Act, which we were told isn't a problem, but they did make it late yesterday. They made that
This
change.
is an amendment that's been added.
Correct, which is hard to follow the different versions of the bill, but that was a change made yesterday. Incidentally, the first change did not include service members' spouses, but they realized, again, they made a mistake, so they had to make that change as well. But it doesn't apply to other people who live overseas, only to members of the military.
So with respect to vote by mail, can military spouses vote by mail,
So,
Mr. Morelli, under the legislation? Or Mr. Steil, either?
Yeah.
Help me understand the,
yes,
and they're not subject, to the registration requirement, or to the in-person registration requirement?
Correct.
Spouses?
to me,
Either of you, yeah. I'm not,
So-
it's a good
no,
faith
no,
question. I'm
no,
trying
no,
to
that's-
understand.
that's fine.
Because the bill was changed.
correct. So
yesterday.
the manager's amendment explicitly exempts active duty military voters, their spouses, and their dependents.
Okay. one provision of this bill requires states to provide voter rolls to the Department of Homeland Security, correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman? Okay.
For the purpose of being reviewed by the SAVE database.
States are not required to do that now.
They're not required to do that now. That is an accurate statement.
Okay. I want to say that I appreciate that acknowledgement because, as you know, there's litigation right now in a variety of different courts across the country in which the Trump administration is asserting that it has the right, under existing law, to these voter rolls. Of course, every court has disagreed with them, including a Trump-appointed judge, federal judge in the state of Michigan just, I think, 11 days ago. And so in any event, I think safe to say Republicans in Congress, not that you speak for all Republicans, but I think it's clear to me that the House believes that the administration does not have this power under federal law, and the courts believe that to be the case. And the fact that you all have introduced a bill to impose this requirement affirmatively, I suspect is going to make its way into a circuit court opinion as a basis for concluding that, in fact, they're not required to, states aren't required to do this under existing law, which is why you're trying to change the law. So anyway, that's my view. But
That's your view?
why, you disagree?
I actually don't know enough case law regarding whether or not the affirmative action by the federal government to take it would be overruled by explicit requirements of the state to provide it. I just don't have background
Fair enough.
case law between the requirement to provide versus the ability to request.
Fair
that
enough.
data,
I think-
which is why we made it explicit in this, so that it would be checked against the SAVE database.
My sense, I just have one more question. I will say my sense is that, I don't know if the court's going to be particularly interested in my view on it, but I think, you know, the chairman of the House...
Post-Chevron deference?
The chairman of the House
Congressional
Administration
intent has a
Committee
little more
conceded that, yeah. One last question. So, Paperwork Reduction Act, you're familiar with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. This is a 1980s Reagan-era law passed by the House unanimously. It's existed for about half a century now, designed to prevent onerous paperwork requirements on hardworking American citizens, right? Fair description?
Fair enough.
You've exempted this legislation from the Paperwork Reduction Act, right?
We did.
Okay. So, to me, that's an acknowledgement to the American public that what House Republicans intend to do, notwithstanding the way in which many have described it as somehow not imposing on onerous requirements and all the like, if that weren't the case, I don't think you would have necessitated an exception or an exemption to the Paperwork Reduction Act. And I see my friend, Mr. Morelli, wants to...
Well, I just know, because it's a really important point. Not only does it exempt them from the Paperwork Reduction Act, this is going to be burdensome, not only for people who choose to register, but this places all types of liability on election workers, right? So if you're at the Board of Elections, or if you're an entry-level clerk at your local Board of Elections, and you take some form of what you think is acceptable, so an expired passport, or you take something that you think is documentary proof of citizenship, but it's not, there's liability that arises from that. We're already having a difficult time in local boards of elections, state boards of elections, to attracting people who are now often the victims of intimidation and violence, whose work is being literally criticized by, as Mr. McGovern's pointed out, by the president repeatedly about voter fraud, et cetera. You're already finding people demoralized in these jobs who are trying to do what they can. Now you're going to make them liable for taking proof of citizenship that's not in line with what the law says.
Thank you to both the witnesses.
You can really stretch one question, Mr. Neguse. Ms. Helm.